Hey everybody, welcome to We Run on Reruns. I'm Amanda and I'm here with my brother Eric.
What's up everybody? We are here with Season 4, Episode 5, Chapter 5 of Stranger Things. This is the Nina Project that we're going to be talking about today. And you know, this is the midpoint episode. This is a 9-episode season. We are at the exact middle here. And I feel like we kind of came to a really high point at the end of, episode 4, Dear Billy, with Max being levitated up at his gravestone. And now we've kind of we're riding the wave back down to ride it back up again. It's kind of that we hit the first climax of the early season and now we're on our way to the next big moment.
Yeah, and that last episode was such a huge hit and so pivotal in the whole series in Stranger Things. That even that image of Max floating just really stuck with me. I feel like it became such a symbol for the whole series.
I think it really did. I think also, like we were saying, this is also when Stranger Things had peak viewership. There was some COVID connected to this. There were a number of other things. And, Stranger Things, had been out for a few seasons, but at this point now, maximum eyes were on the show. And Max levitating up was a symbol with Kate Bush running up that hill, going number 1 on all the charts, as you were talking about last podcast. This became the moment for Stranger Things to really become the biggest deal that it is, and that it rode itself out to be all the way through the end, assuming we're at the end, which I do believe we are.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, Eric, the first thing that I thought of, though, when I read the title of this episode was, who's Nina?
Yeah.
I did not recall Nina at all.
So I did for a second think, was that the girl's name from before? Was this one of the other, people that 11 was with? That was kind of where my mind went with it, because we know that she's on this trek to, get her powers back. And I just wasn't sure if I was missing something from that area. No, I wasn't. We're fine.
And even
we'll talk
then,
about it as we go.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an obscure title, but here we are. And it does definitely make sense for this episode, but you kind of can, the name doesn't really, it's not as pivotal. Secret projects can't be on the nose. It can't be like the Restore 11 Dreams or her Powers project. Okay, that's fair.
It's got to be something. It's got to be something, obscure. But maybe this one is. This one is especially obscure.
Yes. That is for sure. And so, just as a reminder for where we left things off last week, we had Nancy and Robin meeting with Victor Creel in the asylum. We had Will, Mike, and Jonathan evading the military with Argyle. We also saw Murray and Joyce meeting up with Yuri, who then ended up double-crossing them to make a bigger profit. And also Dustin, Steve, and Lucas were working with Max to try to help her to stay out of Vecna's trance. And then Max really was able to break free, unlike anyone else. So everyone else that we've seen levitate up like that, they don't come back down. Well, they come back down, but they're no longer.
They come back down broken. She's the only one who's come back down and has lived to tell the tale.
Yeah, so they, with the friends' help, they were able to make that connection to the music, put her headphones on. But also beyond that, Max seems to be the only one who has invaded Vecna's space too. And we'll talk more about that in this episode. But it's like he was not expecting her to show up at his house.
And it's also more plausible that Max, from our perspective, has a lot more going on for her. She's got a real friend group, right?
Right.
We see Fred. Fred probably doesn't have a whole lot of positive energy that he could pull to. He doesn't seem to have the biggest friend group. Chrissy, you would think that she does because she's one of the popular kids, but sometimes those popular kids actually feel more isolated than anybody else because they're in this like role that they're playing as popular kid, but don't really have true friends. They just, align with the other people that they feel they have to. And so it's very interesting, to see this like group pull her back out of it and have an idea of what they could do, whether it was right or not. It was all they had and they went with it. And Max was able to conjure enough positive energy to basically get herself out of there and keep her focus on what was important and not let Vecna take over, which was great. Yeah. Again, one of my favorite episodes ever.
It was awesome. It was awesome. And today I really enjoyed this episode as well. I mean, I feel like this season so far has been my favorite. It's really good.
I don't think there will be many people that disagree. I think season 4 is almost unanimously everybody's favorite season. It's just so good all the way through. And there are ups and downs as we go, but like on the whole, it's really good.
Yeah.
And I always thought these beginning ones, like the boys being in California and Hopper being in Russia, like I always thought that was like the low points for me, and maybe they are, but those low points are still higher than other seasons' low points. You know what I mean?
I do, because I don't love the Hopper being in Russia storyline.
No, I don't either.
It does add a different element, and when you really think about, like, as we're breaking down all the different plot lines within the episode, it's, what is it, maybe 2 minutes in the entire episode? I feel like where you see Hopper in jail, I mean, you get more of Joyce and Murray in the plane than you actually see of Hopper in jail.
Well, the time spent with Joyce, Murray, Hopper is much reduced than it is in previous seasons. Like last season, in season 3, we had so much discussion about Hopper being like, oh, he was so mad that she didn't go on the date with him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that was really disappointing to see. Because I remember thinking, okay, season 3 is not everybody's favorite, but I really enjoyed it. And then as we went back through it, I was just like, yeah, I understand why people don't like this one.
Yeah,
and it's just such a weird vibe for Hopper, like all the way through. This is a much better Hopper that I see.
Yeah, now. And what's really cool about the whole series, I feel, is that when you really watch the whole thing through, all of those things, the qualities about characters that maybe even seemed more off-putting, now we learned something that I forgot in this episode about Hopper's story, and I was not piecing all that together, and it really lends itself to why he is the way he is, even more 100%. So. And so I really like that, and I'm looking forward to talking about that scene.
Well, let's dive in. Again, this is season 4, episode 5, chapter 5, The Nina Project. This is Stranger Things, and we're going to lead off here with our California gang, the boys, who we start the episode with as they are driving away in Argyle's pizza van with this agent who's been shot multiple times, and they're trying to stop the blood flow. And he is clearly dying. They're trying to get him to a hospital. And yet he starts talking to the boys in his final words here, like, hey, tell Owens, the girl is in danger.
Yeah.
And he says, like, he tries to like hand them a pen.
Yes.
And he's like, here's the number. And he starts, and they're trying to get the number, and they're getting a piece of newspaper. It's all very frantic while this is going on. And then he passes away without being able to give them the number.
Well, and he's saying, get to Nina. Get to
Nina. Get to Nina was part of this. And so they don't know who Nina is. They don't know what the number is. They don't know how to get in touch with Owens. They have nothing really other than this dying message from this agent. And And then Argyle starts freaking out because he's like, it's real quiet in the back.
Yes. Why is that guy not groaning anymore?
Yeah.
Oh, dear Lord.
Did he die? And so it's at this point, too, that the boys are looking out the back of the car, and there's another car that's pulling up behind them, and they're just yelling at Argyle to get off the road, to which he does. And at this point, I go, yeah, but that car saw you get off the road. Like, it can also follow you off the road. I don't understand what that was, but we will move on.
I don't either. And again, this is like the most inconspicuous car like ever.
It's just it's not a great escape situation.
Yeah.
But we move forward to then the agents ransacking the buyer's home, where they are tearing through documents, flipping through cabinets, looking through everything. And these are not the same agents that came to kill them, really. It is like it's that original agent group. Or maybe it is. I guess it would be the same agents. I don't know. I've lost control of this side. I know. Which government agency is on which side. But it is the same. It's the same general from the beginning.
It's the military. Yes.
The military guy who went and threatened Owens in the very first episode.
Right.
That's the same guy who shows up here at the buyer's home, and he finds the note in the trash can that Mike threw away, which I remember thinking when he threw it in the trash can. I don't think we mentioned it.
No.
But I was like, that's such a weird thing. Why wouldn't you put it in your pocket?
It doesn't make sense to throw it out.
I don't know why you would chuck it out. Like, that's so bizarre. But it was clearly done for this moment.
It was.
You know what I mean? Like, they did that so that they could lay this up.
Yes.
And so they find the note from Elle, and then they approach the other agent who is not dead. Who I think last time we said, oh yeah, they just killed him right out of the gate. He's not. He is up and shot multiple times, but they are basically saying to him, hey, tell us where she is. We know she was here.
Which I like how he's like, you won't survive if you don't help me. And I'm thinking, this guy's about 30 seconds from death. Like,
right. He's not going to survive anyway.
Yeah. And also, Eric, my other thought with the crumpled up note in this scene, because he said something like, we know she was here. And I was thinking to myself, she has a room here. Like, there's a lot more evidence that she was in this house than this one crumpled up note in the trash. That was her bedroom.
Yeah. Right. And the idea, and the other thing that was a little bizarre to me is if someone wrote a note to then give to one of the kids, if you know that, hey, we know these boys are here, maybe you didn't know it was her room. Maybe it was one of the guys' rooms. You just didn't know.
Right.
And you find a letter. A letter does not imply that that person was physically there. If anything, it implies they're somewhere else.
Yes.
But that being said, the letter got here. So maybe this guy knows where it came from.
Plus, even it was to Mike, who they're not even sure, like they wouldn't even know who Mike. Well, I guess they've probably made the connection.
They've put two and two together. That's
that he's Mike Wheeler. But still, it's very strange. I just found the whole thing. They're like tearing apart the whole house, and then it's not until they find this like crumpled up note that's like 5 words long that they're onto him. And then I'm thinking, okay, yeah, this guy. I mean, he was about to die. I don't really understand the leverage here, but okay.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
But we get to we get back with them now. Remember, we're sticking with these storylines all the way through and not bouncing around because the show will bounce all over the place.
Yes.
But the next time we see them, they are now burying the agent in a junkyard with all these cars. They've dug this grave for him and they've put him in, and Argyle is freaking out.
Understandably.
He is losing it. And Jonathan is able to get Argyle to calm down by essentially telling him to go smoke weed. Yes. Like, hey, go to the van and just smoke. It's going to be fine. But Argyle is losing it. And he is putting all these things together and yelling and screaming and going back and forth. And he says a few things there about Mike that Mike takes to heart, where I feel like we then get this follow-up scene between Mike and Will where Mike has to sit there and go, well, maybe he's right. Like, maybe I should have done more, or maybe I could have done more, or I could have done something else. And, Will has to be the one that says, hey, listen, like, let's just chill out. You did everything you could do. It's difficult. And they're talking about then a very emotional topic where it's difficult to open up, or he says, I should say, it's scary to open up and say how you really feel to somebody that, means a lot to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Will again is turning this back around on his own experience here. I'm like, okay, well, like, yeah.
So this is what listen, we have to,
I get it.
And I know that this moment, it's around this time that you started seeing in the Stranger Things circles, people starting to go, listen, we know what the deal with Will is here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like there was this whole uprising of people going, Will is trying to come out to Mike. That's what he's trying to do. Mike's not hearing it because Mike is trying to date 11.
Well, not only come out to Mike, but it's more like the way he's looking at him specifically, like he's trying to convey, hey, I actually have other feelings for you, but I can't say it because of how you might react. And it's just, to me, I'm just thinking, all right, Will, like this moment is not your moment, but okay, it's... No,
and so Will is giving very good advice to Mike about 11, but he's also putting it on himself and hoping that Mike sees what he's saying.
Yeah.
We as viewers, I would say the first time through, I remember watching all of this and not thinking that this was what that was.
Oh,
like
okay.
I didn't make the connection. Okay. And maybe that is me and my personal experience.
Yeah.
But I did not make the connection that that's what Will was doing.
Okay.
I thought Will was being just a genuinely good friend. But after doing this podcast and rewatching it.
Yeah.
Right? And knowing what people have said. Like, I remember there being this whole, like, swell of people, fans of the show, online, who were saying, listen, this is what's going on here. Will is obviously gay, and he's trying to come out to Mike. And I didn't see any of that until after all of this had happened. But it was there, and there were people talking about it. And so we need to at least address that, I feel like, because that becomes a moment that we're watching as we see these transactions here between Mike and Will. It is an underlying tone that a large percentage of the community believed was out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even from the very beginning of this season where Will, and even looking back into last season, right? It's like that whole argument outside the house where it's like Will is really just wanting, he's upset, where that one you could, at that moment, you could more easily see, it's like, okay, Will is really just wanting to, they were even younger at that point, and he probably hadn't even fully come to terms with things himself. Whereas now I feel like in this other stage of life and being apart for so long, he's really come to terms with, wow, my feelings, like I not only have this friendship with Mike, but I miss him in this other way too, right? And like just seeing him again is sort of reinforcing how he feels. But he had the
which also plays to why Will has been so upset at Mike paying no attention to Will, who Mike just sees as his friend, but Will is potentially seeing as more than that. And this is becoming a very difficult spot for Will to be in. But at the same time, Mike, it's not resonating with him. And I can say, like I will admit, the first time I watched this through, I was in
Mike's shoes.
I was on Mike's side of this.
Yeah.
I was like, I would not have recognized that that's what was going on here until I heard from the internet people, from the the Reddit communities and whatnot that are out there, all of a sudden going, this is what's happening. And I'm like, is it? And I kind of watch again. I'm like, oh, yeah, it is.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was sort of like even when he showed up at the airport with his artwork and
all
then
the
he
way through
tucked it away. He's like, okay, I can't. I'm like, what is going on here? And it just, it became so much more obvious that he was trying to tell Mike more about how he feels, and why would that be? You know what I mean? Like, why else would that be outside of he's trying to share how he feels about Mike to him? And also then why, when we were talking about the whole scene at the skating rink, it's like, why was he continuing to turn it back around on himself? He just can't stop thinking about it, right? So I think that's why even in this moment he's trying to be a good friend to Mike, but he's also trying to still say like, hey,
but Will is doing a really good job, I think, at this moment of balancing his advice. He is still giving genuinely very good advice to Mike about making sure that he knows it's difficult to open up to someone that you really care about. Yeah. And it's scary to do that. But you have to eventually let them know how you really feel. And Will is trying to take his own advice in this, but he's also providing it for Mike, who Mike will use towards 11. So it's a very difficult balancing act.
And that's got to be just really painful because more than anything, he wants to preserve his friendship with Mike. Of
course.
So I think him trying to figure out, well, what does this even mean?
What's the balancing act?
Right. Yeah. And so it's, but oh my goodness, this going back to Argyle here, wanting to make a headstone. What is going on? Argyle, how much weed did you smoke? My God. This is the worst possible idea.
I'm just thinking to myself, like, listen, Argyle, I appreciate that you are getting on board, but the idea of leaving evidence behind is stupid. What are you talking about? Like, why would we do that?
And why is Jonathan just not saying right away, no, do not do that? That's a horrible idea. It was just sort of like, oh, all right. Like,
but you know what? It gets us to the pen.
Yes. Thank God that pen did not work. Right. And Mike, thank goodness, these Wheeler kids, because we'll get to Nancy in a little bit, are really good at problem solving and puzzle solving, right? Because
critical thinking skills.
They are all over solving these puzzles and riddles and just all over it.
Someone who's played D&D his whole life, and you got someone who wants to be an investigative journalist. Like this is the right line of work for these people. Not that D&D is work, but you know what I'm saying. Like the creative thought process. Right? I mean, it's work to put it together. That much I know, and I've never played a game myself, but I would love to. So if you're out there, invite me. Teach me how to play.
And so, Mike's realizing, wait, why would he possibly give us a pen that didn't work? Maybe it's not just a pen. And he opens it up, and there is this tiny scroll of paper in there, and inside, that's the phone number. So that's the number he was trying to give to him, so not to write it down. Yes.
He did end up giving him the number. He just gave it to him in the pen, and they had to figure out that it was in there, which was great. And they did do it.
Yeah.
So then the last scene we see from them, they are rocketing through the desert landscape again in the pizza van and pull up to this payphone that's on the corner of absolutely nowhere. Like there is literally a payphone in the middle of the desert with nothing around it from what we can see in camera view. So very interesting place for a payphone, but there is one.
And thank God, I guess they knew it was there, or they just happened upon it. I mean, this was very random. But luckily, my guess is either they from a set perspective, if you're making the episode, that either there is a business there that they kept out of shot, and it was on the corner, and they were able to cover the parking lot in dirt so it looks like it's still part of the desert, or
They literally just built a payphone in the middle of nowhere and just said, here's a payphone.
I'm not talking about how it ended up on the set. I'm talking about how did these guys know it was there? Like, it's like...
these are two different things. Yes. But why would it even be there? Like in real life, if you're shooting a set location, unless there was a business there at some point that then got torn down, but they left this payphone booth.
Yeah, that's not real. Yeah, that's not a thing.
I mean, they could have.
Like,
I don't know.
Hey, it's possible, but
I'm not frequent. I am not often in this, California, Arizona desert area.
No.
So I have no idea.
Well, they're calling this number, and it sounds, Eric, to me like the internet dial-up sound, which
100%.
I'm like, oh man,
it's a little different, but that's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, and Will is saying it reminds him of War Games, which, Eric, I had to look this up because I have never actually seen that movie. It's this Matthew Broderick movie from the early 80s. I think when I looked up, it's 1983. And I've never seen it. And I kind of want to go back and find it.
And watch it.
Yeah.
It feels somewhat familiar. I feel like I may have seen it at some juncture in my life, but I couldn't tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
So the War Games reference makes a ton of sense. The idea of it being that sort of like the plot line with War Games, I think connects to what Stranger Things is trying to deliver. And at the same time, it is a reasonable reference because these kids don't know what the internet is. But one of them, Jonathan or Mike, I forget which one, recognizes that they're not calling a phone.
Jonathan.
They're calling a computer.
Yes.
Jonathan is the one.
Yes.
Yeah. Recognizes that, hey, these are not the sounds of a phone. They are calling a computer with this. So it's then Mike who says, hey, if we drive through the night, we can get to a hacker. And they're like, what are you talking about? And in comes Susie.
Oh,
in
man.
comes Susie.
We don't see
Will
her yet.
starts singing the never-ending story.
That's right.
It's awesome. So
I love that.
So they are now on the road through the night to try and track down Susie in Utah to
Jonathan
give
is
her this number.
Skeptical, but yeah.
Yeah, but what else are you going to do? You have absolutely nothing. You got no connections. You don't have anybody else out here. But Susie is a few states over, and it's not that difficult to get to, and she probably can help you. Now, how they know where Susie lives, I have no idea.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dustin must have shared that with them at some point, but...
We'll pretend that he did.
I think he must have. But yeah, what stood out to me, and actually what had prompted me to look up War Games, is the music in this moment. It was so unique and just... great. I really liked how it stood out. It was a little bit more playful, almost reminded me of music in Back to the Future, which if you guys have been listening to this whole podcast, you know that Eric and I are both big fans. And so it kind of had that playful sound. But so when I looked this up, just a little synopsis. So War Games is about a young man finding a backdoor into a military central computer in which reality is confused with game playing, possibly starting World War III. So it's all about Matthew Broderick apparently confusing a video game with a computer system or with,
and if you're going to tell me reality confused with gameplay, the idea of Dungeons and Dragons being confused with what's happening in real life here is very accurate, including the idea that in the very last season they broke into a military base on the back door.
Exactly.
Yes. So this is all connected.
Yeah, so this is pretty cool.
Yes, I like that. And so we'll leave these guys here as they travel off to Utah to go and find Susie.
And now we're rolling into a scene with Hopper back in Russia, right? So he's in this Russian prison. And this, just in the context of the whole show, the whole episode, this happens right after the credits roll. So we have this moment where he's getting beaten because apparently he keeps trying to escape. And Eric, I interpreted this as he's continued to try to escape. This wasn't just the initial escape. But now, as I'm saying that out loud, I'm wondering if he was just getting beaten and this is playing right after his first escape attempt.
I did not interpret it as he's attempted multiple times to escape.
Yeah, even as I'm saying that out loud.
I interpreted it as this is what happens when you try to escape.
Okay, yeah.
And they're still punishing him for that thing. Like he's just been brought back as far as we know.
No, you're right.
So,
because then when we see where Joyce and Murray are, it's like right where we left off.
Well, and he's going to end up running into Enzo next, which means he doesn't even know that Enzo's in the prison yet at that point.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I don't know why in my mind I saw that. I was like, wow, he keeps trying to make a run for it, but he hasn't been successful.
Where are you running? You can't run in the prison. Like, you're not going to just hop the fence and go.
Yeah, and if that was the case, if he kept trying to escape, they probably would have just put a bullet in his head at that point. Because he's just
I think so, yeah.
So yeah, he's getting dragged into a cage, and that is where also, as he's getting dragged, the camera kind of focuses in on these steel double doors that are in this field area.
Yeah.
And this tiny little weapon that I think is probably what they give to the prisoner to try to fend off whatever's back there.
It's a very small flail is what it looked like.
Yes.
Yeah.
But who else is in the cage when he gets dragged in there but Enzo? And Eric, this is where you had made mention in our last episode where it's he probably thinks that he was in on it. And I don't know I think he might have thought that, but I think it was more so the fact that he told him that he could trust him, right? And now look at the situation that they're in. So I don't know if either way, whether he thought that he was in on it or whether he thought that he just basically gave him a bad resource that was Yuri, because Yuri obviously cannot be trusted. It's just not good. Enzo failed here, and now he's mostly worried about Joyce. So
Enzo did fail here, but he gave the line that I felt was most important, which was, listen, we gambled today and we lost. Yeah. There is no prison escape that's a sure thing.
It's true.
You are going to rely on these people and hope that it all works out and hope that they're all in it for you. Mm-hmm. And when one of them isn't, and the whole thing falls apart, you're in a much worse situation than you were before. And now Hopper is in that worse situation, and he has to understand he made a play and it didn't work, and now you're really in it. You're really in some straits now.
And if I was Hopper, I'd have to say one of the most crushing parts about that is he made it as far as he did just to be captured. It's he made that 100-to-1 escape out of that shed. He made that insane.
The hard part was getting away.
Right.
But it's kind of like all these other movies that I think about, where you think about, I was always a fan of watching The Fugitive, which is a much older movie at this point.
Harrison Ford.
Yep. Yeah. But you get away. But you're not ever really away. Yeah. You have to continue to be away.
Right.
You have to keep moving. You have to keep getting out. So the idea that they found this safe house and he was locked in there and felt like he was in a really good spot, and he let his guard down for probably the first time that he's been in Russia, knowing that he's made it to the destination that he has to get to. Yeah, but you have to remember that they're still out there looking for you. They're not going to give up looking for you in 10 minutes.
No.
So they're going to try to figure it out. And if they crack the people that you're trying to get to, well, so be it.
Yeah, and then we see Yuri fixing a plane outside of the Fish and Fly, and Joyce and Murray are inside the plane, and she's trying to bargain with Yuri, saying she has 3 kids waiting for her at home. And, Yuri's kind of coming back with, well, with the money that I have, my mother, who's waiting for me, will be very proud. So basically the money that he's going to get for selling their American butts to the Russians.
Yep.
Well, you know what? I have to deal with my own family. So sorry for you. There's no, I really don't care about your situation.
Like, sorry, and it was kind of funny because he was like, Yuri has family too. And they're going to be super proud because I'm going to bring them a ton of money. And it's like,
so
and I was like, I don't hate Yuri. He's not wrong. Like, he's doing
I hate Yuri.
Listen, I don't like Yuri, but at the same time, Yuri is doing what's best for Yuri.
Yeah.
And
there
is some risk that comes with that. There is risk that comes with everything that he's doing too. But if it works out, then he makes out.
Do things like this ever work out for the Yuris of the world? Really? No. Where it's like he is now thinking that he is gonna cash in. Like, where's his guarantee? You know what I mean? Like,
none of these people.
He knows,
none of these people are operating with guarantees.
No.
So, but I don't think the quick, huge payout ever comes with a guarantee.
No, right? Yeah, probably not.
Something that a lot of wannabe criminals probably learn very quickly.
Yeah, and some need to continue to learn it over and over and over again. But then we're back in Russia, where a guard is cleaning up a severed hand from that field area outside of those metal doors. It's like, oh, okay. And Enzo is telling a guard, well, I can make you rich, trying to get Hopper in on it. So he's trying to already start his next scheme.
He's trying to come up with the next thing. Yeah.
Try to come up with something because he knows, like, we're going to die in here is his line in a little bit. It's like he recognizes this is it for us. We're not here to thrive. Like, this is the end of the line. And because they've obviously been witnessing whatever is going on there, whatever led to that severed hand. We just haven't seen it yet. And he's trying to convince Hopper to get in on this with him. But Hopper is just, he's out of commission. He's not wanting to get in on any next scheme. He's feeling pretty down and out. All he can think about is now the additional trouble that he's brought on to Joyce, right? Because he can only imagine, I'm sure his mind is just going wild with where she's at, with everything that she's sacrificed now for him. And so Enzo is trying to keep him positive, saying that he can still save Joyce, but yeah, he just feels like he keeps putting her in more danger. And he recalls this time, and this is kind of what I was referring to earlier, that I did not recall when we started this rewatch, where he was in Vietnam, and his unit was in charge of making a lot of the Agent Orange that they were using in battle. And they told them, hey, this is just this non-toxic fertilizer. It's fine. Like, you guys will be fine. They didn't use masks. They used nothing while making this. And this is a real problem that really affected a lot, like generations of troops that were in Vietnam. And when these troops came home, they were having kids. They were trying to build families. And those kids had a lot of serious birth defects. And this is what led to Hop's daughter getting sick and dying. And so it was just, I took an emotional gut punch in this scene. I got very misty here. It was just really him recollecting this moment again. It's like, my God, I just can't imagine going through that. And knowing that what you went through is what caused it. It's just awful.
Well, the only note I have on this whole scene is Hopper saying, I am the curse. And it's like, for a long, his whole thing was, for a long time, he thought that his life was cursed. Like that this bad thing would happen to him, and this bad thing would happen to him, and this bad thing would happen to him. And then he starts talking about how, he thought he was the reason that Joyce was doing better, and the reason that 11 was doing better, and he was bringing the sim in. And it's like, you know what? No, they didn't need me. I needed them. It was more for me than it was for them. They'd have been fine, but I am the curse. I am the one bringing the bad on all these people, on everything that I touch. And so when Enzo is out here trying to make a deal to get the next thing, Hopper is now just giving up. He is done with this because he realizes that it's him. He is the thing that brings the bad on everyone. Whether that's true or not, it is in his mind how his life is going. And so instead of him being the one who's cursed, he is the one bringing this curse onto everybody else. And that is a very, very distinct moment. And I feel like this is Hopper's best moment in seasons. It's been a long time since I've had a Hopper moment that I'm like, that's the guy there.
Yeah.
He was so great in this scene.
Yeah. And you
like, I don't think I've seen this Hopper since mid-season 2.
Yeah, well, because he's more humbled here, right? Like, he's doing more self-reflection. He's obviously feeling really down about himself, so I guess that's one way of getting humbled. But it's like he's recognizing that, he's the one who has really needed them in his life. And I think that they have needed him too, though. And so, we just really want to see Hopper pull himself out of this and continue to fight, because the last thing you want to do when you've been dragging people along for this crazy ride is to then give up. So you got to keep fighting Hopper, right? And so, but it is good to see, I think, him reconnect to his humanity a little bit more. He was just getting, I think also just, he was trying to play the role of dad when he wasn't really dad. And, I think Hopper and alcohol is not a great mix. And so he's still was trying to hold down all of those emotions, right? Which he talks about here. It's like, I just then turned to drugs and alcohol because I could not deal with it. And I don't think he ever really was in recovery from that. So while he was trying to be a dad to 11, he was also still drinking heavily, which if you're an alcoholic, that's just not a good mix. And so he was trying to play that role while not fully in it. And now we just understand that a bit more.
I think I've never done this, so I can't speak to this, but I would assume, I am a parent, I have 2 kids. As they grow up, I grow with them. I'm also a teacher, so I work with kids a lot in middle school age, right? So I feel like it's
a tall order.
So I feel like I have some preparation for as they get older, right? Meanwhile, if you're Hopper, you had a daughter who was very young when she passed away. And now to jump to parenting a teenager is such a gap that it's very difficult to make that transition. And so to all the people out there that are step parents and doing the best that they can by just acquiring suddenly a teenage son or daughter, it is not an easy task to do. And especially to just kind of jump into a family. Now, Hopper wasn't jumping into a family. He was more like creating a family that didn't exist. And so that it is incredibly difficult. And so if you're also going through all these tough times yourself, and it's very difficult to do and hard to make the adjustments, which is why him and Mike never saw eye to eye in season 3. I can understand him falling back into alcohol. Yeah. Because it's hard. And if you are also an addict already, this is going to be difficult.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And let alone, not even mentioning the circumstances that these people are in from, No,
that is then on top of the whole thing. I don't think any of the current step parents out there are also dealing with the upside down and all the things that come with it.
That we know of, right?
That being said, their life might feel upside down every now and then. I'm just saying. It definitely feels that way, I'm sure. And props to all of you out there who are doing the best you can. Like, don't worry. Just keep doing the best you can. It's going to be okay.
Oh, no kidding. Right.
It's never good. It's always the best you can.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And your kids will be grateful for that, right? That you're giving it the best you can.
Down the line, they will recognize it.
Yeah, and
but so we get to Murray on the plane now, and Joyce, yeah,
Joyce realizes that Yuri can't hear them at all while he's flying this plane, and so she has this idea, which I think is great. She's seeing those Jif jars of peanut butter, and they used to be made of glass. So she's thinking, hey, let's knock down that box, use a piece of that glass, cut ourselves free, and then Murray, you have that black belt, right? Well, you could kick this guy's butt. And he's like, well, I haven't really used it in a real world scenario. And then we find that Murray has really just been sparring with like children, apparently. And he's like, but I did beat that one teenager that one time. I was dying laughing.
And he was really good. And this guy's probably not trained as much as he is. So yes, I can defeat Yuri. And it's like, this scene is so great. Like, I just love Murray's little inner monologue of going from, I can't fight anybody just because I have a black belt doesn't mean anything, to, I'm going to beat this guy down. Like, the whole transition is so good. It's
absolutely great. I can't. And Eric, I don't know about you, but I was having flashes of Dwight Schrute here. He was being very Dwight in this moment. Like, absolutely, I can.
I can see that connection, and they both have black belts.
That's right. Yes, and they both, I think Dwight also was in a class with kids. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
So, yeah, I mean, we get this moment where Murray rather ends up being pretty successful because Yuri notices in this plane a peanut butter jar is kind of sliding to his feet, and he's looking down like, what the heck is this doing? And looks back just to see Joyce trying to free Murray from her ropes. And Yuri then has a gun to Joyce's head. And luckily, I guess Joyce must have cut Murray out enough that he was able to wriggle the rest of his way out. And he's standing behind him saying, my fingers are like arrows, my arms like iron, my feet like spears. Resist and I will end you. Turn this plane around and I will spare your life. And Yuri just starts cracking
That is
up.
So Dwight Schrute too.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. Yuri though is just cracking up laughing at this point at the sight of him. And Murray kicks the gun right out of his hand though. And they start to fight. And Joyce is trying to reach for the gun, but it is like wedged under this, just in this really narrow space. So it's not until then they land into the controls of the plane, which starts to take a nosedive. Then the gun is rolling out. I mean, it's just this wild scene.
It's a whole frantic fight scene going on.
Yeah.
Murray's holding his own, but the plane is like going straight up. It's going straight down. And like they're kind of being tossed around the cabin at the same time.
Yeah.
And at one point, though, someone, I forget who grabbed it, who took the shot that went through the glass. Was that Yuri? I think Yuri might have had
I think that was Yuri. Yes.
And so we get a bullet going through the front, and I went, well, this plane is done now. Like you broke air, pressure. So it's not going to make it very far. I don't know if that's true, but I feel like that's true.
Yeah.
And so they start fighting, and essentially Murray wins the fight.
Yeah.
But knocks out Yuri cold.
And Joyce is like, what did you do? And I'm thinking, what were you planning on?
In what galaxy was this okay? Like, they had this idea that they were going to fight him and keep him conscious and force him mid-fight
to fly the plane?
Turn the plane back.
I'm thinking, Joyce.
I don't understand.
Right. What were you thinking?
That being said, they get control of the plane and do their best to land. And by land, I mean crash into the ground.
Yeah.
But crash like level, not nose first.
Right.
Like they at least got it leveled out and took out some trees along the way. My first thing was, I know they're going from Alaska to Russia. It's not that far.
Right.
But it is fortunate that they were over land.
Thank God. Right. Because the odds of that are actually pretty slim.
They're pretty slim. There are all sorts of islands and stuff in that area, and it's not a very far gap of ocean.
Yeah.
But you're not going that far into Russia. No. Kamchatka is right on the edge.
Yeah.
So this is not a very far distance, most of which I think is still water, but apparently they got there.
Yeah.
And they crashed.
Yeah.
And we don't see anything after that.
No, that's the last.
Spoilers. They're still alive.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Right. We know that. Yeah. We have a hunch that they're still alive. But next we wanted to talk about, because that's all that we see of that group. And
that's the end of that storyline there. And I will say,
yeah.
Remember, this is all sprinkled in throughout. What the Hopper moment is a huge moment. He ends up on a short list of me for my favorite characters just because of that moment.
Yeah.
Murray's moment, while more comedic, is also great and
good.
Also ends up on a short list for me. So I am still torn between who I'm picking here.
Yeah.
But they both, with the limited amount of screen time that they got, impacted the story, I felt like, in a very big way, in very different ways. So we'll see how the rest of this plays out. But we're going to go talk about, Max next?
Yeah.
Max's group, the whole gang?
Yeah, the Hawkins gang. And we are going to break out the portions that are specific to Eddie, because there is some overlap, but there's enough that's really just the Eddie and Jason of it all, that we're going to break out that separately. So where I kind of pick things up with just the Hawkins group, which is sort of the crossover, is Nancy answering a walkie-talkie page, I guess, from Eddie, where he's asking her for food. And that's when she notices that Max is gone from the couch. They must have dozed off and not realize that Max is no longer on the couch. So they're kind of running upstairs. I think Dustin was supposed to be keeping an eye on her. He had also fallen asleep. And luckily, she's just been sitting at the breakfast table in the Wheeler's house, where, of course, we have the comments from Ted being like, yeah, sure, just eat us out of house and home, kids. No big deal. And being a little curmudgeon.
Ted is such a jerk.
Yeah, he's such a jerk. God. That's
I don't even consider him for least favorite character anymore, because he's just annoying at this point.
It's just Ted.
He was now, the funny thing is, the early seasons when I was getting on him a whole lot, it was one thing. Now I feel like he's going out of his way to be awful.
Dude.
The old Ted would have just sat in the corner and not cared.
You would think he would have a little bit more compassion for these kids, knowing things that have gone. They don't have the details about what's gone on, but
because
I don't know.
Karen Wheeler is sitting there saying oh, I'm so glad you guys are deciding you want to stick together through all this. There's a lot going on. Good for you guys looking out for each other. And Ted's yeah, you could do that at somebody else's house too.
You know what, though, Eric? I feel like I experienced this with parents when I'd go over there, the dad and the mom just having totally opposing views. And I almost took it as, at least in my experience, I'm thinking of this one friend's house, and the dad would always kind of it was in more of a joking way. I feel like sure, kids, just use whatever you need, no big deal. But Ted just doesn't even feel like he's kidding. He's being fully looking at Dustin, giving him a major side eye when he's grabbing pancakes. And I'm like, Ted, pancakes are flour and water. These are not.
I think the thing is, it is good if you have an ability to share the responsibility, right? So the Wheelers always house the kids. They're always
That's
there.
True. Right.
They're never at the Byers. They're never at Dustin's. They're never at Lucas's. They're always at the Wheelers. And I think that's probably deep down the thing that Ted is frustrated with. Like, I know, speaking from personal experience, in the summertime, there is a house in our neighborhood that most of the kids end up at all the time, regularly. And I am always out here saying, like, hey, you guys can come over here too, but, you know, they got all the fun stuff. And so that's where they go. Like that.
Sure.
That's the thing. So I totally get it. It's fine. Our house is boring. What are you going to do?
So it's all right. Like, this is by design. No.
No, but like, I understand, like, if the parents are like, hey, we need to like spread this out a little bit. I know our house, I feel like growing up, we were probably the house that everybody came to more often than not.
So maybe part of it,
I would say I had more like sleepovers with friends at our house where people came to us than I did going to other people's houses.
Yeah.
Now, I went to other people's houses plenty, but I also feel like we were a more central location.
Yeah. Although that's kind of funny because we weren't really a central location when you think about it.
We were not a central location, but we did have, but like we had like an above ground pool. You know, we were those people.
So part of it, right? Like,
but I had a friend who had a trampoline.
Yeah. Part of it might have
different.
also been the space, right? Like the Wheelers, because Dustin, his house kind of strikes me as they were a little bit more well-to-do. Like they had a lot of stuff at Dustin's. He had a lot of like toys and gadgets and stuff. Like you could tell they even lived in a really nice house. But I think the Wheelers had that separate basement space, right? And
the basement
where they could
area,
just
which is huge,
go and hang out and have their like kids time. And so I feel like that was, and we had a finished basement in our house growing up. So I feel like
partially finished, partially, not the whole thing, but like a section of it was finished.
This part. And I feel like having that kind of hangout space probably has something to do with
important.
it. Yeah, for sure. So we have, after, you know, they find Max at the table, she is doing all these crazy intricate drawings, which I'm like, wow, I guess Will is not the only one who is a talented artist in their group now. Max is like intricately drawing out what she saw, really just to kind of get it out. What she saw when she found Vecna in his space. So when he was saying, what are you doing here, Max? You know, it was like she had invaded his space. And, you know, Nancy is kind of looking at all these pieces. And Eric, this reminded me of the moment early on in season 1 where she is like zooming into the picture of Barb, right? And we were kind of laughing at the fact that it's like she's like zooming in on this whole picture and
100%.
Just circle this one moment of Barb. But in this, she had to like...
But she also like pieced all the pictures together to like showcase where Barb was, like put the whole thing together and then was able to see something in the background. This is again piecing all the pieces together, like folding them all up and putting together this house.
Yeah, because it was like a deconstructed version, all these floating pieces of the house. And the one giveaway, which is the most obvious, was the door, right? Like that stained glass rose on the door.
Yep.
And so she's kind of putting it all together and realizing, wait, I've seen this before, because when they were looking up the articles of Victor Creel, that was the house, right? So now they're really making that connection between where Vecna is and the Creel's house. So this is a really cool moment there, but yeah.
I mean, props to Max for being such a phenomenal artist, first of all, to be able to place it all together perfectly like that. I mean, the other one was photographs. This is now like hand-drawn sketches. So, I mean, there you go. Way to go. Also, I will say, like we said, we're not really talking about season 5 a whole lot, but you do get this little Max and Holly moment at the table, which I find to be very funny.
And it also made me realize, wow, they did a great job, because I mean, the actress that they got to play Holly in season 5 was phenomenal. But not only was she a great actress, but she kind of looked like this kid. Like, they did a great likeness.
They found someone similar looking. Yeah.
Because we could have, as viewers, I feel like, stretched our imagination to say, oh, Holly just changed a lot over the course of those years. But no, they really did get a likeness. So they decide, we need to investigate this house. So we're with Nancy, Steve, Robin, Dustin, Max, and Lucas, the Hawkins gang, breaking into the Creel house. And I love this because Robin says, hey, found a key, guys. And it's a brick that she's just going to throw through that disgusting house.
Love that from Robin. Like, it's like, hey, guys, we're breaking into a already sealed, like, broken down house that nobody is going into. I think we can just shatter this window. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and they do.
We have some funny moments in this scene, because you also have Dustin giving Steve a hard time about not having a flashlight. Kind of calls him a big baby at that point. I'm like, oh God.
It's funny when Dustin's the one like, do you need to be told everything to do? Like, do we have to tell you to bring a flashlight when we're going to examine something like this? Or should you just know that you should bring a flashlight? Here's an extra flashlight because I brought one because I knew you would.
Who's babysitting who here, Steve? You can no longer call yourself the babysitter. Love you, Steve, but come on. This is funny.
This is why Dustin and Steve is the best.
They are. And
it's been such a good thing to put them together. And I know Steve in a few moments here gets frustrated that they get paired up again, but it's like, yeah, but too bad. Like, this is the best
Steve,
one.
I think you might need Dustin more than Dustin needs you here. So
100%. 100%.
Yeah, but right before that moment, we also have that glimpse of the clock that is exactly the same clock that's been in Max's visions, and also, they don't know this, but also in everyone else's visions, right? So we have that same theme carrying through, and Steve is like, oh, maybe he's like a clockmaker or something? Okay, Steve.
Steve, let the grown-ups talk.
Steve. And but yeah, then they break off into groups of 2 to investigate the house. We have Robin and Nancy, and I think it's kind of cool that Nancy right away was like, you come with me to Robin. And yeah, and because she's probably like, she helped me out a lot at the library, so.
But I also don't think that Nancy wants to be with Steve.
Well, yeah.
I think she locks that door she shuts that up real fast. Like, I don't want to be left alone searching this whole place with Steve. First of all, Robin did help a ton. And second of all, I think if I'm with her, I'm going to be focused on getting like actual information. And if I'm with Steve, we're going to be talking about all sorts of other stuff
the
instead.
guy who didn't even bring a flashlight. Come on. So, yeah.
I mean, come on now.
And of course, Lucas and Max are paired off. So then Steve is just sighing. And he's like, was that a sigh? Dustin is saying to Steve. It's like, oh yeah, here we go. And they're just kind of, it's always us.
But then like when they're out and searching, like Dustin gives a quote, and I didn't write the quote down. Did you get it?
The obvious things
he gives a quote about
what people observe. Hold on. Because Steve tries to quote it after, and that's the part I wrote down. He goes, because Steve says to Nancy, the obvious things are not what people observe or don't observe. It's a Sherlock Holmes quote, and he's trying to quote it back.
Yeah.
Hold on, let me find it.
Well, the idea is that, people observe everyday things and don't realize what they really are. And so
the world is full of obvious things which nobody by any chance ever observes, is the actual quote.
There you go. And that's what Dustin said to Steve. And so then Steve starts looking with a little bit more careful eye. And he finds this grate on the ground in, I believe, a bathroom of sorts. which he opens up, and there's all these jars of spiders, which he then refers to later as Black Widow spiders, but I don't know the difference. So
the Black Widow spiders have like the red, it almost looks like an hourglass on their back. And I'm thinking, Steve, how would you didn't look at it, you just felt it. So that was kind of a weird statement, I thought, for him to make.
Yeah, now here's my thing. Are these spiders still alive? Because I don't think so.
Well, the one in the jar surely wasn't, but the same spider, to me, Eric, that is the same spider that we saw in the flashbacks of Victor Creel.
Yes.
That he saw coming out of the bathtub.
Of
like
the bathtub,
his wife saw them.
We saw them, I think, when Max was walking through in Vecna's house, they were crawling around on the ground. So these are clearly present at the house.
Well, I saw these as being like almost hallucinations, though, of like the other world. Like, I don't think these were actual spiders there. I think that these were like spiders that were haunting them. Is what that's why when he flicked it off himself, it wasn't there. Like they didn't see it anymore. I don't know.
Here's my thought on this. I thought that it was real, that someone had clearly like captured them and put them in this jar, right?
That part, right. That's true.
And then this is how we're able to see them in this like upside down world. They're part of this house. Right. So the stained glass mirror, the stained glass window is present. The clock is present. The spiders are present because they're still present in the house. Like they are in this area. So when Nancy is reconstructing the house, these are the things that you can find because they're there. You know what I'm saying?
So
that's how I look at it.
Is the house almost in both places? Like it's in the upside down. It's, of course like, it is.
Everything's in both places.
Well, no, but I mean, it's not like, is there the ability for things to appear?
I think there's three different things. I think we have the house in Hawkins that the kids broke into. Yeah. I think we have the house in the upside down that Vecna is like charged into. Right? And then and we have the like memory of the house in Vecna's mind, which is where everything's kind of floating abstractly.
Yeah, I guess I'm just wondering, is the house, because it was Vecna's house, more easily like these things like the spiders could appear in that space more easily?
I think because they're in his memory, because they're in the house, they are able to be like connected that way. That being said, could be a number of different things. But I think this is something that we just keep tabs on and we see where we go from here.
Yeah, but then we also have this moment with Nancy and Steve where Nancy is getting the spider webs out of Steve's hair, and he's kind of awkwardly, as his back is turned, because she's picking the webs out of the back of his head. He's reinforcing that he's just friends with Robin. And she's also kind of overhearing this, and she's like, platonic with a capital P, as she had said before. P. Yeah, and he's kind of suggesting that, well, after all this is done, we should hang out, me, you, Robin, Jonathan, it would be great. And, she's I think she's enjoying the idea of this and definitely wants to at least be friends with Steve again.
I do think that she wants to be friends with Steve. I think she doesn't want to partner up with Steve because she knows Steve will distract her. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's a difference. But I do still have to say, Steve, I love you, but you always have your mind on like what will happen afterwards.
Well, hey, like, let's just focus. Too.
I know. Let's just focus on the present. Okay, we got a thing going on here. We're in Victor Creel's house searching for clues. You're thinking about what will happen when the whole thing is over. How about we just move on and we worry about what's here?
Yeah. So we also see Lucas saying, he's now he's a Kate Bush mega fan because she saved Max's life, which I thought was very sweet. And he really missed hearing her laugh. And, she's kind of, I think, happy to hear that because Max is seeming like more of herself despite everything that's going on. I think just trying to solve this problem and being together as a group is helping her kind of work through some of this mentally.
Lucas has been trying, clearly. We see at the very beginning of the season, we see a couple times after. Lucas has been trying to get her to
Reconnect.
come out of this state that she's in.
Yeah.
He doesn't really know the best way to do it. He doesn't really know how to make that happen. And I think she's not necessarily willing to believe that he truly means that he's trying to help her out. So she's just kind of in her own way, in her own zone. And now maybe she believes it a little bit more. Maybe she sees that he truly does have her best interest at heart a little bit. And when she laughs at one of his jokes and he says that, to me, I think it hits home with Max a little bit that I haven't laughed in front of him in a long time. It's been like that. It's been me being angry and depressed and sad and, just in this funk for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. And I'm at my best now when we're here together doing these things because he makes me laugh, and that's good.
Yeah. Well, and, this is kind of like you'll hear soldiers say that the hardest part of, being in the military isn't actually being in combat, but it's trying to then live in the real world after the fact and trying to reacclimate. And you kind of see that a little bit with Max, I feel like, where she was just not able to reacclimate after everything that she'd been through, trying to just be a normal kid at school. It's just not happening. She's not feeling it. It's not working. And also we kind of find that part of that could be that because Vecna was quite literally trying to invade her mind. And take over her mind there. But I think that it's being back in this mode where she's having to figure out this problem and work with the group to solve this puzzle.
It's helping. It keeps her mind off the other stuff.
It's keeping her mind right. So we also learn here that she only has 45 minutes of listening to this Kate Bush tape before it runs out. And then guess what? You got to go old school. This is a tape player. You got to rewind that manually. So this could be a problem. I think this is some foreshadowing into what's to come where you only have 45 minutes and then it's done.
Then you got to hit the rewind on it.
Mm-hmm. So
But this is then when we also get this lamp that starts to light up. And of course, Max is now double checking everything hey, do you see this too? I swear I'm going to stop asking this, but do you also see this? And he says yes. And they start following the lights very similarly to the Christmas lights from season 1. And they actually reference that throughout this. Nancy does, I think, as they're talking about this energy that we're starting to see. So the gang kind of unites, and then they decide, okay, we're going to turn off our flashlights and we're going to spread out. And so they start spreading out throughout, and essentially I believe it is Steve who catches this light and it lights up his lamp, and they start he's on the ground floor. And then they all start following him up the stairs, and it stops. They're like, we lost it. And I forget who opens the door, but somebody's like, no, didn't lose it. And the door opens.
Yeah.
Thought it might have been Robin who opened it.
Maybe.
And it was Robin or Max or Nancy, I feel like, one of the girls.
Yeah.
And then they follow the light up the steps. And they get up into the attic, and then all of them are kind of standing in this circle in the center of the attic with their flashlights, all of them lit up. Mm-hmm. And then the camera rotates, and we get to the upside down where we see Vecna completely tapped in, where he is connected to the hive.
Yes.
And again, remember, all this is happening with different flashes of other sections, which we will get to in this next section with Eddie.
I love how before they go up to the attic, Dustin is like, well, what if he's leading us to a trap? I'm like, yeah, no kidding. Like,
this is not a bad idea.
No.
Like he knows. He knows what's going on. So that is very feasible.
Yeah. So this next portion with Eddie, though, because we had mentioned earlier, he was trying to connect with the rest of the Hawkins kids saying, hey, I need food. I need supplies here, because he's hanging out at Reefer Rick's house. And all the other locals know that Reefer Rick is in jail, so no one should be in his house. And you get this really brief scene of these two guys who are fishing out on a lake saying, hey, when did Rick get out of jail? Because he's not. But they could hear commotion. I'm thinking, Eddie, could you be quieter? Could you be more subtle?
Eddie has no sense here, because he's trying to hide, but he's making it very obvious that there is somebody at this place.
It's very
and
weird.
You would think that if you're going to try to hide, you would make sure that there's absolutely nothing available. That being said, he still has to move around and try to find food and things like that, so he could do it more subtly. If I was him, I would only be moving under the cover of night.
Yeah.
There would be no moving around throughout the day. But apparently Eddie's going to do what Eddie wants to do. And so there's this. And so we have all these scenes now that we're going to tie into this Eddie storyline that are connected to Eddie, but also just kind of loose random scenes. So we see the agents then show up at Eddie's uncle's place. And they are inspecting throughout, and they see this big giant crack in the ceiling, and they're looking at it. And he says, oh, yeah, I've had a leak up there, just haven't tried to fix it in a while. And they're like, yeah, we're moving you. Like,
you need to get out. Right. It's been leaking.
This is not a leak. You've got to go.
They're using what I call these giant, industrial hairdryer looking things to sweep, do some testing. I don't know what they're testing for, but yeah.
So then the next scene that is adjacent to this story is the funeral for Chrissy, where Chrissy's mom is speaking and talking about how her killer is still out there, and she's giving this very impassioned speech. And Jason is in the crowd. The rest of the team is in the crowd, in the audience. And we get a close up here on Patrick, who suddenly is hearing the clock.
Yes.
We saw Vecna tap into Patrick a little while ago, and now he is seeing the clock off to the side and hearing it. And then after the funeral, Jason kind of rallies the rest of the basketball team together and has photos of the Hellfire Club
from the yearbook,
which is from the yearbook, and it is Eddie with Dustin and Mike and Lucas, and they're all like, oh, Lucas, what a traitor. And it's he was really a traitor on them to you guys, but whatever.
Okay, sure.
I digress. But anyway, so Jason is now kind of rallying the team to say, listen, we got to find Christy's killer. These guys are suspects number one. We got to know where all of them are right now. And he's handing out, he's got a hit list of names. And one of the kids brings up, hey, we got to add Reefer Rick. Who's Reefer Rick? Oh, he's Eddie's supplier. And wind was out that maybe he was back because people saw a commotion at this place. So, okay, we'll check out Reefer Rick. And Jason adds Reefer Rick's name to the bottom. It's good. No stone goes unturned. Look for everybody. So then we get the move to Reefer Rick's, and Jason and Patrick and I think at least one more.
Yeah.
No, just those two.
The guy with the hat. He's the most obnoxious looking one of the group. I'm like, the guy.
So there's three of them that show up to this place.
Yes.
And Eddie sees him coming and is like, oh, crap, and starts trying to figure out where to hide. He's trying to radio to the other friends. No one is picking it up because they're all at Victor Creel's house looking for clues. So no one is near the radio
they
hearing
left
his
the
cries.
walkie-talkie downstairs. Like, why?
I don't know.
Especially like
what the purpose of that is.
Nancy knew that Eddie was trying to frantically get in touch earlier. Why did they just drop the ball on their connection to it? That part was very upsetting to me.
That was not great. So Eddie is now on his own,
Yes.
no connection. Jason is at Reefer Rick's. They're going through the house. There's nobody here.
Yes.
But
and Eddie made the vital mistake.
Yes. And that was?
Of leaving the food on the stove.
Yep. So there's nobody here, but there are signs that people are here. And so Jason looks out the window of the second floor and he sees the boat shed and decides, hey, we got to check in there too. Mm-hmm. And it's at this moment that, they are essentially saying, Eddie is saying to himself, I got to go. And he gets in the boat and starts paddling out to the lake.
Oh,
I don't know what other move, if I was him, the thing is you go out into the middle of the lake and you are now on an island. There's nowhere else to go. If I'm Eddie, as soon as they pull up, I'm deep in the woods, I think, instead of going out into the water. But anybody who's watched Stranger Things know that the water and the boat, there are some cool scenes that go down with this today. So
and one thing that I did notice with this scene too, because I was thinking, why when they just showed up to the house, didn't he just immediately go out into the water at that point? But the sun hadn't gone down yet. So it's like they were kind of at the house for a while looking around.
They were in and out
finding Eddie
for a while. Let's even say it was close to sunset. They were at least there for an hour going through all this stuff.
Because then it was in the darkness of night, he could then quietly paddle out.
Yeah, but you're still going to hear the paddling. It's not the best idea.
Yeah,
but Eddie has proven to make not great ideas. Okay, he's not making good choices.
No.
So he gets out there, and Jason sees him, and so now for the first time we see Jason lock eyes and sees Eddie, and all he can think is, this is my moment. I've got him. And he just basically strips down to a certain amount and jumps in the water. He's calling for Patrick. Patrick jumps in the water with him, and they start swimming. And Eddie is trying to start the motor on this boat, and it does not work. And so he's
maniac
just paddling.
Olympic swimmers. They are swimming out there. I'm like, holy crap. They are swimming. So
to
fast.
be fair, they're athletes. These are athletes, right? And Eddie is not that far off the coast. This is not that far a swim. Okay. Jason and Patrick are by the time he gives up on the motor, they're basically there. And he starts trying to paddle, and then all of a sudden, we have a moment here where Patrick now is getting connected to Vecna.
Yeah, because we keep getting these flashes back and forth between where the kids are in their circle with the flashlights, and one cool thing that I don't think we mentioned was that the camera work was really cool here, where the camera did a 360 upside down, so you are then in the upside down with Vecna.
Yeah, we did that. We said that.
Oh, we did. We say that. Okay,
yes,
yeah.
We
so
did say that.
Flips around, and I really love that because we get that again with 11 too in a scene coming up, and so they flip it around again, and we're seeing these moments back and forth where then Vecna's tapping in, and he's tapping into his next victim, who is Patrick, because Jason's looking back at Patrick and he's like, dude, we've almost got him. What are you doing? And he's just stopped in the water, not making any motions. He is frozen. And
even Eddie stops to look at him what is going on here? Because Eddie, you would think, would just be whatever, gotta go. And
I gotta go, which honestly.
But it's enough.
Yeah.
And Eddie has seen this.
Yes.
Eddie has seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
And so.
Because he's kind of using his oars saying back off, guys, back off. But then he's stopping, saying all right, what's happening? But Patrick gets pulled under the water, and then he is shot right up into the air, and that's where like Jason and Eddie are both staring at him like, what is going on? Vecna is clearly targeting him, and all of Patrick's limbs snap, just like Chrissy's, just like Fred's, and this is right in front of Jason and Eddie, and it's pretty bad. And I'm thinking to myself, well, this is probably not gonna help the fact that Jason thinks that Eddie is doing this, right? Like somehow,
that was my thought. I'm like, there's no way that if you're Jason, you think that this changes anything.
Right.
Eddie can try. He can try to explain this. Like, you saw that. Like, right? I'm not the only one that saw it. And if Jason is willing to listen, he might actually buy it. But if you're Jason, if I'm Jason, and I think Eddie's the one that did this, and now you got close enough to him, and you're full in on this D&D club is cursed, and they can do hexes and stuff like that, why would you think otherwise?
And it was in around 1980 where really all of this rage around satanic panic and all these kids are creating hexes and curses and they're able to do these things and they're satanic groups. So you hear the Hellfire Club, and he knows nothing about D&D. So he's just assuming Eddie is some sort of sorcerer, right? Or something.
Yeah.
And he is able to have this mind control, and now he's taken out another one of his friends. It's a really intense scene, and I just felt so bad for Eddie here, but it's also like, dude, you could have just been a little bit more subtle with where you were hiding, crept around a little more carefully.
There were some poor choices by Eddie here in this moment, but here we are nonetheless.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go into our last section here, I think, right?
Yeah, with 11.
So this is now our 11 side of the story, as 11 is now brought back, because we've now basically gone 2 full podcasts and haven't even really talked about her, because she was not in the previous episode at all. And now we have 11 waking up in the back of the car with Dr. Owens, and we get the screen tag that comes across saying 12 hours ago.
Yes.
So I find that very, very noteworthy that this is all now happening before a lot of what we've seen and what we're about to see. So the 11 storyline is on a slightly different timeline, which means I'm not really sure how it will connect, but it will connect.
We end up in the same timeline, though. So the way that we started off 12 hours earlier, but where we end up is aligned with where the rest of the group is how I interpreted this, because we see them driving. We see that they're in the middle of nowhere in Ruth, Nevada, and then there is just a doorway, as there are, I guess, in the middle of the desert, a doorway that is clearly going down underground, and they open it up. I'm like, this is not normal. And there's just an elevator shaft where they are brought
with
down.
all these random elevator shafts that we're just finding around these joints.
And Eric, I don't know if you've seen the show or played the game Fallout, where they go down
I know the game.
Shelters.
I have not played the game a lot, but I do know the game, and I know the concept of the game. That's as far as I got.
This reminded me of that very much so, where they're underground in these silos, and Dr. Owens is explaining to her that they used to store missiles here, but now this is all for her. And there's all these lab techs that are staring at her. A more powerful
weapon.
Yes, that's right. And there's all these lab techs that are staring at her, and Owens is saying that she's bigger than Madonna to them, and that they believe in her and her abilities. And then they see a large tank, and that's what he's calling Nina.
And let me just say, I feel like that is such a huge moment. I mean, it's easy to be like, okay, well, they all believe in you. Like, they all think, and that would be a lot. But we have to remember that 11 has spent the first 3 to 4 episodes of this series feeling like she doesn't belong anywhere. And so to walk into a place like this and know that you're a celebrity and that all these people are here because they care about you and what you do, that's got to mean just so much to her. Like, she's finally finding her path.
Yeah, that's right. And then after she sees the large tank that they're calling Nina, then we see these footsteps coming down the stairs, and it is Papa and Dr. Brenner. And he's creeping slowly down the stairs, and 11 is looking at him like, oh, hell no. But he's saying that she needs his help and that he can get her gifts back. And he wants to work together with her, daughter and Papa. I'm like, oh, God. And she is like, I mean, this is like your captor. You know, the one who took you hostage is now saying, come back to me. Let's just relive the glory days. It would be great. And she is just running out of there like a bat out of hell. And these troops stop her. And then they sedate her with this giant gun like needle in
tranquilizer.
Her tranquilizer.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's pretty bad. But then, you know, he's holding her saying he's sorry. He didn't want it to begin this way. I mean, this is awful.
But you're home now.
Yes. You're home now. Oh, so.
But okay. So let's pause here for a second.
Yeah.
I know that you have many a time talked about how you don't like Dr. Owens from time to time.
That's right. Yeah.
So how do you feel about Dr. Owens in this situation, knowing that he knows that Papa is still alive?
Yeah.
And has him available.
Yeah.
So that when they need to bring her powers back, he can go to her, and then decides, hey, we're going to put 11 right back in his care. How do you feel about that?
Well, he failed to mention this one detail about the whole process of getting her powers back. Yeah, he left out that
was irrelevant. That was irrelevant. Do you want your powers back or not? Like, what are we going to do here?
I mean, and I also find it hard to believe that, like, is Papa the keeper of the only secrets that know how to help 11 at this point? I mean, is he the only one that can do this?
I don't want to say that he's the keeper of the secrets. I feel like that implies that if he just told Dr. Owens how to do it, that Owens could do it. We have to remember that Dr. Brenner, if you take all the creepy Papa stuff out of it, Dr. Brenner is a scientist who believes that his work is helpful. Mm-hmm. And whether or not that's true or not, there have been plenty of scientists that have gone off the rails, Papa style.
Oh,
right?
Absolutely.
This is not
Frankenstein
unprecedented
style. This is very yes.
This is not out of the realm of possibility. That being said, this is not something that I think Papa could even explain to somebody else and know how to do it. He is the one that is able to unlock these abilities in these people through his research and his practices. So I think, if you want to call him like the keeper of secrets that way, I don't think that's far off.
Yeah.
But I think it's more in line with, this is his research and this is his experimentation, and he has lived his life doing it. It is very different to then try and say, oh, all you got to do is push A, B, and C and you're good to go. Like, he's got to walk her through it. And so it's very, very different.
And so, and to answer your question, I guess I do have a problem with Dr. Owens, but I also understand why he made the choice that he did, because as 11 chooses at the end of this episode to stay, Dr. Owens was also presented with, hey, this is our shot at saving the world. And you gotta get her to come back. Papa knew that he wouldn't be the one to convince her to do that. So he used him to lure her back and to be that father figure again to her. As you had kind of pointed out, it's almost like he was
So you think Papa is using Dr. Owens?
No, Papa used Dr. Owens to bring 11 back to him. He knew that he couldn't just show up and be like, hey kid, come back down to the silo with me. Let's be Papa and daughter again. Like he needed Dr. Owens to bring her down, and then he would appear. Yes.
Well, but see, here's the thing. In all of this, I still think Dr. Owens is the one pulling the strings on all of this. And I think he's doing it for he is watching over this entire experiment. You know what I mean? Like he's got control over this because
Papa's
he can
explaining to him what all of this even means. Like he keeps asking like, well, what does this mean? Well, what does that mean? It's like, what?
That's right. But I don't think this was Papa's plan. I think this is Dr. Owens' plan. I think Owens knows that the ticket is we've got to get her with her powers back. And the only way we can get her with her powers back is to use Dr. Brenner because he's the only one who can get them out of her. So
sure.
This is all Owens' game plan. That being said, it is not great. I mean, there's not positive.
I see what you're saying, but he couldn't just have Papa bring her back down to this place. Like he knew that he had to be the one to bring her.
No, he has to, and it's his whole orchestrated plan.
Do we ever find out how Dr. Brenner even survived? Do we address that?
No, I don't think
that's
so.
a little
Maybe
upsetting.
we do, but I don't remember it. What I'm going to say no because I don't think it gets addressed.
It's a little weird.
Although we never saw him dead or die in the first, and we mentioned that.
Yeah.
When we went through the very first time, when he gets attacked and killed, it's always one of those off-screen deaths that you feel like, oh, well, they're dead, but you never saw it. And so do you really believe it?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm trying to tap into my original memories of this episode of when that happened, and I can't access it. I'm like, did I think that he was dead in the moment? I probably did.
Oh, I definitely did.
Yeah.
I definitely did, but I also made sure to note, like,
we didn't see it.
We never saw him dead.
Yeah.
So there was always you've seen enough shows where if you don't see the person dead, there is in the back of your mind, hey, this person could come back up. But again, this is 4 seasons later that this person is coming back up.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of time.
Then we see 11 with
real time. This was like 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, then we see 11 with her haircut again. And Eric, I just had to throw in here that I learned when doing a little research on this that Millie Bobby Brown did not actually cut her hair again in this scene. This was actually CGI and a lot of work with makeup and wigs to get this look back.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, wow.
And I will, since we're stopping and talking about this, I will say at the beginning of the season when they showed young 11, right? And I was like, this is a really bad CGI of young 11. Like this is very obviously not her. Yeah. And it's like close, but not quite. And it looks really weird. And I'm like, I don't remember it being like that. And this is why, because it's not
it's improved here.
It's her older, but there's like flashes of a young version of her. You know what I mean? Like I thought all these scenes would be with this young CGI version of her, but it's not. She's physically there.
Sorry, what are you saying?
You look very confused.
I don't know what you're saying. Like it's a CGI version of her. Like it's not actually her.
Okay. Let me try and say this better. When we saw the first episode of this season,
bad CGI.
We saw like a very little younger version of 11, and I thought, wow, that's not great. I don't remember it being like that in this season. I always thought it was much better than that. And now, when we see her, when she's interacting
in the mirror
with the people in her memories and stuff, yes, but older Millie Bobby Brown is involved in a lot of these memories.
Oh, okay. Yes, that.
And we are only seeing glimpses of the younger version.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that is why I'm like, I didn't think it was that bad, because it wasn't, because it's still the older version of her that we travel with a lot. But we just get these flashes of the younger version. And I'm like, oh, right, okay. I thought my memory was like going bananas.
Well, no, but I also though felt like in the mirror in this episode, I felt like the CG
better than the first one.
It looked better. Yeah, to me, I was thinking, I don't know if I'm just like
totally agree.
Letting it slide or because we know it's a reflection, but I'm like, I feel like they made that better than the first episode.
I really felt like it was better as well. It's only in bursts, but then maybe it's because it's such short windows of time. Yeah. But it felt a lot better in this episode than it did in the first one, for sure.
But poor 11, she's waking up. This is just like, am I in a nightmare here? Which she kind of is, because she's in the hospital gown again. She's barefoot, trapped in this small room with a little camera in the corner. And there is the same drawing on the wall, too, from when she was a child. And I'm saying to myself, Eric, this is not how you treat Madonna, right? Like, this is not Madonna.
It sure isn't. It sure isn't.
She's exiting this room, and again, she's being watched by cameras. She's walking down the hall, and she can hear echoes of other kids in the distance. There are numbers on all the doors. So this is exactly like when she was a child kept here. And she enters in the rainbow room, and all the other kids are there. And this orderly who's being overly friendly, I'll just say it because we know I was identifying him as Henry here. They don't call him Henry yet. We don't have that identifying name. But so you just see this guy who's like, hey, sleepyhead, what are you doing in here? And his lines just kept being played on a loop. And she is trying to escape this room, escape where she is, and she just keeps getting brought back into this room over and over again. There's no escape.
Very, very Groundhog Day like.
Yes. This was very it was a nightmare. And so we see Dr. Owens watching her vitals on this screen, like, I guess in the real world. And Papa, this is kind of what I was referring to. He's saying, she's going to be fine. She'll learn how to swim, because Dr. Owens is saying she's going to drown. And at this point, we don't quite know what he means, but it's because you can kind of guess, because we know they had her floating in that other tank when she was a kid. But now we will end up seeing her inside Nina, and we'll get there. But
I don't think this was like she's going to drown like physically in the tank.
Oh, I think so.
I think this is, I just felt like it was a metaphor for she's not going to make it. And she's going to die. I saw it. Like her vitals are going to crash out and she's going to die. I saw it
as, she's going to stop breathing and then sink in the water and quite literally drown. But it's
plausible. But either way, because she's not swimming in the tank either, but it's either she's not going to make it, or she's going to figure it out and she's going to like work through it. And that's and this is why you have to have Papa here. Papa knows the research. He knows 11's history, and he knows how to push her and get the best out of her. I'm not saying it's a good thing, but he is the one that knows how to do it.
Yeah, that's true. I guess oftentimes the middle manager in that role is the one who actually knows what's going on, and the supervisor who is in charge of the whole thing really doesn't know how to do it himself. So,
well, no, he's not really in charge of the experiment. He's in charge of the global, getting this fixed. Like he's got his eyes on saving the world. And this is a component of saving the world. And no, you don't always want to see how the sausage is made, right? So you don't want to know how 11 gets her powers back, but to Owens, it is critically important that she does.
Yeah.
And if this is the way to do it, then this is the way to do it.
So in this nightmare state, 11 is noticing the camera in the corner of this room. So she's getting on a chair. It's screaming at it to let her out. And that's when she's also getting off the chair and seeing herself as a child in the reflection.
She sees herself in the lens as a reflection.
Yes.
First.
Yes.
And realizes, I'm not older
here. Right.
And goes over to the mirror and sees herself step in front of the mirror and is now that much younger version of herself.
Right.
So while she's there at her own age, she is seen in this area by everybody else as this much younger version of 11.
Right. And that's when she starts hearing Papa's voice coming through too, and he's explaining to her that in 1786 there was an opera named Nina, and Nina was so traumatized because her lover was killed in a duel that she would wait at a train station for his return that would never be. And so she recognized that she's trapped in a memory at that point, but he's telling her that she needs to leave her train station like Nina couldn't. So he wants her to pull through this, find her own way out, and to focus. And so he is trying to harness her abilities once more and really tap into that side. And she starts connecting more deeply to her memory, because then we have the scene where, as Owens is saying, they don't have much time. That's when we also see 11 is floating in that Nina tank. So you see her head with all the electrodes on it, and you see her actual body floating as she is connecting more deeply with that memory, because Papa is offering candy then in this flashback memory to the person who can try this experiment next. So they're all testing their abilities. This is something that she actually went through as a child, where they sit on a chair and focus at this ring of lights, and he wants her to turn on the lights and make this ring spin around. And I love how all the kids are like, pick me next. And he's like, how about you? And he picks on 11, who is not volunteering herself at all.
The only one not volunteering.
Yes. And Henry, the orderly, is putting the electrodes on her head, and, he's saying, find the energy, feel it. And the other kids are laughing at her because, they're thinking that she can't do it. But Papa is then reinforcing, show them what you can do. I know you can do it. And she finally does make one of the lights glow. But then she looks down at her hands, and they are covered in blood. And that's when she leaves the room, and she has that vision that we saw in an earlier episode of everyone being dead in the lab. And that's when her heart starts flipping out in real time. And Owens again is saying, pull her out. She's going into arrest. And then we also see 11 then waking up then to Papa saying that she's safe now. And that's when she looks over, sees those like paddles. I think that they were like the paddles that used to resuscitate someone's heart or shock them back to life. And she just knocks him out and then is off running again down the hall.
Yep.
And that's when we get that really cool camera work again, where it's flipping 360 all the way around as 11 is trying to escape. And these guards go to stop her once more. And that's when she screams, stop. And all the lights break and they shatter around her. And you get that really cool scene, which I think is the cover of this episode in Netflix, where she's down in almost like running style, like position where like before the gun goes off, and she's screaming, and you just get these sparks all around her. And it's like, yes, because the guards are just taken down because she blasts them out. And Papa is walking up behind her saying, remarkable. And she turns in disgust, and she's like, just stay away. And
puts the hand out.
Oh no, and this is like another moment like what she tried to do with Chrissy in the middle of school, and she's trying to use her powers.
Puts the hand out, and there's nothing. And Papa's like, you didn't think it was that easy, right? Like, it's not going to be that simple to get all your powers back.
No, but the elevator comes down, And she has that option. The elevator is open and he's kind of giving her that choice at that point. Like, hey, I can help you, though. It's not going to be that easy, but he didn't really put this into words, but it was implied that it's like staying here, we'll continue to work together and hone that skill, or you can go.
And again, here's the thing.
Into the middle of the desert.
If she leaves, right? If she leaves, forget going to the middle of the desert. What are you going to?
Where are you going?
She's already so mad.
I know.
At everything in her life around her.
Yeah.
This is the way. And whether you like Papa or not, getting those powers back is critical. Mm-hmm. And so when she decides that she's going to walk back with Papa, that to me is the moment that she's like, no. I know that I don't like this guy, but I am committed to this cause too.
Yes.
And I need to do this.
Yes.
And so it's a huge help. Now, do you know, and this is where the show ends.
Yes.
Do you know the deal with the Rainbow Room that people have pointed out?
Oh, what? No.
So if you go back and watch, and I was trying to pay very close attention to this, the Rainbow Room has got all the kids in it, and it's got a rainbow around the outside. Like there's a rainbow like wallpaper job right through the middle. In some scenes, the Rainbow Room, the rainbow goes the right way. And in other scenes, it's upside down.
Oh.
And so you
cool.
can kind of track where she is, because she's in this floating tank in this amoeba-like area between both. So the theory is that while she's in one side, and like when you see Henry, he is always on the upside down side. And when you don't, it's her, and it's like the real side. So like it's something that I have seen online. I've seen people say to it. I don't know how true it is, but I'm definitely paying attention to it as we go through these next few episodes to see if I feel like there's definitely some connection, because she is, as we go back to the title from the first season, The Flea and the Acrobat, in this tank, I feel like she's kind of just floating between the two as necessary, right? She's kind of in this weird zone of between spaces. And so sometimes she's in and sometimes she's out, and there's no real way to see it. But that rainbow is definitely painted on the wall correctly one way, and then it kind of like zigzags up and it goes the opposite direction, the rest on the other side of the room. And so people have pointed to that being that. It's more like a fan concept. I don't think I've seen anybody from the show actually address it as that's what that is, but I do think there's probably something to it.
There's a lot of details in these episodes that are, very cool. No, that's cool.
So you have to check that out as you watch forward. All right, so now we are going to jump into our IMDb ratings segment of our podcast, where we talk about our ratings against your ratings as we find them on IMDb. We're going to talk about our favorite and least favorite characters of this episode. And remember, this is Chapter 5, The Nina Project of Season 4. Let's see. Amanda, do you want to start here, or do you want me to start?
I'll go first here. I did struggle a little bit with picking both my favorite and least favorite, because for
Agreed.
Me,
I had a hard time here.
Yeah, but I will say this. So I went with 11 as my favorite because I felt like harnessing her powers again and sticking with it for the greater good, even though this is really like her nightmare. I mean, I described this entire episode as being like 11's nightmare. So I feel like she, though, knew that this is her way into saving her friends, which are really her life, and how to get back to the reality that she grew to love, and also, I mean, save the world and be a superhero, because she was feeling really disconnected and really awful for for some time now. And so I really, appreciated Eleven's willingness to stick with that here. And for my least favorite, I went with Nancy. Because listen, I actually had a moment where I thought, hey, Nancy had this amazing moment where she's putting together the picture of the Creel house because that was awesome. But again, I feel like she totally dropped the ball with she picked up the walkie-talkie where Eddie was. She should have looped in the rest of the group. I didn't see that happen of what he was looking for and then stayed in touch with him. I feel like she had answered the call. She should have been the one and then staying in touch. At least one of them should have. They all kind of dropped the ball with the walkie-talkie, but I went with Nancy because I feel like she had initially made contact with him and he was counting on her. And then she just kind of was like, oh, gotta go. Cause she realized Max was missing and then just kind of forgot about poor Eddie. So, yeah.
Well, I will, I'll roll on. I'll go the opposite order just to keep things consistent with what you just said. So I'll stick with my least favorite here first. And, while I think Nancy could easily be a least favorite, and also I think Steve probably has some opportunities to be least favorite, I found myself picking between Eddie and Jason here.
Jason,
and when it comes down to it, I'm gonna pick Eddie because I feel like he just made so many ridiculous decisions in this that he didn't help himself at all, and I think to me is the thing that gets me. Now, there's part of me that says Eddie is not suited for this. We all know, that's the funniest part about this, that the guy who runs the D&D is really the least prepared for something like this. He likes living in the fantasy world. He is not the guy that actually wants to go out and do it. And so when he is, trying to stay quiet in a barn area, he isn't. And when he's trying to escape, he's making the worst decisions on ways to escape. And it's all kind of just one of those things. I think Eddie has moments this season where I'm going to put him tops of the list or real close. But this one was not one. And that's why I kind of said Jason, as much as I don't like Jason's character, obviously you're not supposed to, Jason is still doing what I would expect Jason to be doing. And so I will give him some leeway there. As for favorite character, honorable mention to Hopper. Hopper was great. Loved Hopper in this episode, but I will agree. And I'm going to go with 11 here. I feel like this was a big 11 episode and I will second your vote here and say, I'll put 11 up. And I'm just looking, this is the first time that we've picked the same favorite since the beginning of this season when we both picked Lucas. We actually both had the exact same picks that day, Lucas and Angela, because who likes Angela? Nobody.
Oh my God.
So so here we are now with ratings, and since you went first with those, I will go first here, and I will say last week I gave a rating of a 9.3. which I think was my highest Stranger Things episode to date. And there's part of me that looking back, I should have given it just a 10. It was such a great episode, but I will leave it as it stands. I'm going to come down notably for this one. I thought this was good, but like I said at the beginning, this to me feels like a drop after the last episode as we are about to take off on our rise for the next major action. So I will bring it down to an 8.4. I don't know that anything really noteworthy happens in this episode that I will remember. No offense to Patrick being killed. That to me is not like a noteworthy death on the landscape of Vecna kills. And 11 starting her journey is good, but I feel like we get way more exciting as we go forward with that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with an 8.4 here.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that's about right. I think that's about right.
No, that's fair. Yeah, I really, something about these episodes, I love this season. And yeah, you're right. I guess when you think about it, nothing crazy happened. Although, I mean, the 11 plot line is really the biggest thing that moved everything along. And you also do, understand the direction that everything is going to be moving that much more. But so I love this episode. I gave this one an 8.8. I was actually originally thinking, I'm like, is this in the 9s again? But I really liked it. And I feel like even though a lot of them are still separated, I liked everything that everyone was doing. I actually even had a moment when we talk about characters again, really quick, it was just too short of a moment, but I actually was almost leaning toward Mike because I love that he figured out where the phone number was. I was like, that was awesome, Mike.
Yeah.
Nice work. But we just didn't see him for long enough. So
there were opportunities, like I think Will in that conversation that we talked about could arguably have had his big moment there. Mike had a big moment. Yeah. I think Jonathan actually stepped up a little bit more than we've seen recently. I really liked Murray and his role. I liked Lucas and Murray. Max and what they were doing. Yeah. Like there were a lot of likable characters, but I don't feel like there was anyone who jumped out.
Yeah.
And therefore the biggest shift in development, I feel like, came from 11. And that's why I picked her. Now, you gave it an 8.8. I gave it an 8.4. The classroom as a whole, the people out in the world on IMDb have rated it an 8.1.
Oh, man. Okay. Notable drop. Wow. From
it is a notable drop
of last week.
It is actually equal to the first 2 episodes of the season, which I find kind of amazing because for the most part, these Stranger Things series tend to rise with maybe a little bit of a dip. To go 8.1, 8.1, 8.3, 9.5, and then drop all the way to 8.1 again, we're almost on like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Where it's like up and down, and now we're going to hopefully rise back up. No, we will rise back up. I'm telling you this much.
Yes.
The end of this season is bangers.
Yeah.
Banger after banger after banger. Like, so I don't know exactly where it picks up. I want to say it's probably 7, 8, 9. Those 3 are going to be huge on my scale, I think. But I'm not surprised to see this one come down. I came down a lot on mine, and I think it's just like we're resetting because this now begins like the 11 journey back.
Oh yeah. I love that where we get to see Papa again, even though I despise him. I love that when he showed up again, it's like, oh my God. And then like that moment where 11 is able to like break free of the guards and she kills them. Okay. And take them out. It's like, yes. Yep. And that moment where like the sparks are flying. I just love that so much. It was great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as we are right now, I'm just looking real quick. I've given 2 episodes in this season a 9.0 or better. You've given 3 episodes in this season a 9.0 or better. The fans have only given 1, but that is easily each of our most by, I mean, any stretch. I mean, I say that because I've given like 2 episodes in season 1 and in season 2 a 9 or better. I gave 1 in season 3 a 9 or better, and I've already got 2 now, and you've got 3 now, and you've done about 2 or 1 each episode as well. So like this is clearly for you and me one of our favorite seasons so far. Mm-hmm. And I will say that I thought the early shows on the first watch through, these early episodes were just not my favorites, and they end up being some of my favorites so far. So, you know, memory is very interesting. Yeah. I'll just put it at that.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the We Run on Reruns podcast. Please follow us on our socials, our YouTube, our Instagram, and all the other platforms that we're out there on. Subscribe, give us 5 stars on the ratings on your Spotify's or your Apple Podcasts or wherever else you happen to be listening to this podcast in full. We really appreciate all of your support so far. Thank you so much for tuning in. You can check out our full podcast on our own website as well. That's werunonreruns.com. And for Amanda, this is Eric. Enjoy watching Chapter 6, The Dive of Season 4 next week. Happy rerunning, everybody.
See you later, guys.